sure, right.
Because my phone is going to be on the table. Oh, the sound is on. The stream? Cool. Perfect. So let me just... Now I'm being...
No.
So, new episode.
Ready.
Great. So let me just... There's 1 second, then we're good. Sorry. Let's see. Jesus. Oh, where's the thing? There it is. And then in this one. And then recording. Okay.
Hi.
Finally, we're we're live. So welcome back to the HFL podcast, everyone. This is episode number 13. Today I'm here with Slava Barnowski. Welcome, Slava.
Hi, Lars.
How's it going?
All's good.
Yeah?
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you've gotten back to the rhythm now after the new year and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we are ready to go this year.
Perfect. So Slava, how about obviously you're a busy man. You just came back from Helsinki 2 days ago, was it?
Yes, on Monday.
Traveling all over the place,
Yeah.
doing all these things in London that we're going to get into shortly. But why don't you tell me what you've been up to lately? So
Well,
what's new with you?
Last year we had pretty busy year because of we had about 58 entrepreneurial events, such as workshops, mentorship sessions, and kind of consultancy sessions for entrepreneurs in London. And then I was thinking, okay, how we moving on in this upcoming 2019?
Yeah.
And then during December and January, I got an idea to establish a club for tech entrepreneurs in London called Eligent Club, where we trying to help upcoming future digital unicorns to meet together to brainstorm about some ideas and also help each other to develop some great projects together. But what is more important, also to help each other to get lifetime connections where the people, they don't look at some sort of the teamwork in very short middle term. It's the place where we're trying to meet some people you can see them working together with you in next 10, 20, 30 years over the time. That's our aim, basically.
So it's not only sort of a membership club for aspiring tech entrepreneurs and promising tech entrepreneurs, but it's also more of an ecosystem. You try to cultivate that type of culture, or
exactly. So I've been alumni of the Startup Leadership Program in London, which is I was so lucky to be selected in 2016. So the main philosophy of this program is not about to take. It's about to know when you can give and when you should give back. So our philosophy is pretty much the same. We're looking for people willing to share our knowledge and experience with others, rather than to take the advantage of being in the club or any sort of the community.
Yeah. So it's not about only taking the resources out, but
Absolutely.
more about instead of. So you being a part of the club is part of the resources of the club.
Absolutely.
Not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're absolutely right. We're not building just a club. We're building, first of all, the community of like-minded tech entrepreneurs and the people willing to, to delegate some, as I said, expertise and knowledge to other people.
Yep.
But also to find these bright talents where you can unite as a team and work closely together for some disruptive projects all across London and other cities and countries, for sure.
Okay, perfect. So how so you just started this now in December, January, the shift?
Yeah, so
what's the feedback you're getting this far? I mean, obviously you probably haven't, it's not started completely yet, but what's the initial feedback? You've been talking to some people?
Well, initial feedback was amazing because the people realized it's not too many places where you can meet kind of support, but also kind of the people where you on the same page with you, again willing to discuss honestly about your problems and issues, and again willing to help you. Nobody again trying to get some sort of the benefit out of it. It's more about meeting up every Saturday, talking about the issues and problems we all of us we have in our own startups and businesses, and also again trying to figure out how we can help each other. So, and I think it's much more than just about the business or startups or technology. It's more about relations of the entrepreneurs, of real people.
Yeah.
So
because I think that's probably the biggest discrepancy in that sort of market right now for entrepreneurs, is that usually you'll have a place like WeWork, right?
Right.
Which is more of the community focus.
Yeah.
Where you're meeting like-minded people, freelancers, entrepreneurs, small startups, everything of the likes.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you have all these accelerators, incubator, where they have all the resources.
Yeah.
So there's sort of no middle ground. You have to do either both, and there's no place where you can get both things at the same time, unless one thing that's almost the same would be like Google Campus, but it's very limited because obviously they have their own focus, right?
Absolutely.
So you see Eligent Club fitting in the middle of all of these things.
Absolutely.
Somehow.
Don't get me wrong. We expecting from startups and entrepreneurs that they really interested to progress all the time with their own businesses. Yep. It's not just community to talk pretty much about everything with no outcome. So what my kind of the biggest concern for us here was that I saw more than 2,000 entrepreneurs for last year, and I was given the workshops and all these kind of insights. But my main concern was how can I track the performance of startups or entrepreneurs after all these sessions and activities. So what we're trying to figure out, or what we're trying to develop, also kind of the track measurement system, where the people come into our club, they have the point A, they have some kind of the goals and objectives they want to achieve in the next 6-12 months, and we want to track them. We want to make sure they do progress, we help them, the community help them, and they kind of satisfied with this kind of journey. So I don't expect anyone who just want to chill and who is lazy. It's not the place to be.
Exactly.
And you're absolutely right. We kind of in the middle point, because some accelerators they pretty much focused on just the businesses, where they kind of have lack of the personal attachment, and there are some communities where they don't really focus on the real goals and achievements.
It's more about the feeling and being with the other people and stuff. I think that's very interesting when you're saying about the tracking, because something that's I guess inherently very hard with startups is to have a benchmark for a lot of different types of startups, because they'll do indefinitely so many different things that it's very hard to have a standard benchmark where you're saying, okay, so you're all here right now, let's see where you are next week.
Right.
So how are you planning to implement? Will it be sort of a tailored thing for each and every one, where you say, okay, so this is the situation right now, where are you going to be in 3 weeks?
Well, first of all, yes and no. Obviously, we will talk with every startup, and we will try to figure out what the objectives they have and where they're going to, right? Do they want to make a first sale, or they still growing as a team, or they building the MVP? There are so many things they can focus on in the same time. But there are some kind of universal benchmarks, let's say the revenue, amount of sales, investment rounds.
The KPIs.
Yeah, KPIs, exactly. And at the same time, what we also want to track, which is probably the hardest part for me, that level of engagement in the community. How startups helping not across own team, how do they engage outside with the other startups and other teams, and how do they help basically. So how do
you measure that?
It's pretty much the
Is it based on feedback from the others?
Absolutely. The techniques are they kind of already exist. So it's feedback and testimonials and questionnaires where you will need to kind of report. For example, you attended the sessions. how did you like it first of all, what was the outcome for you, and how did affected your kind of the performance for, let's say, the next weeks or next months. And then you kind of stated what was the main point or main outcome you took as a benefit for your business, and also who helped you across the community and by what, basically.
So it's a self-reporting where you're sort of also pulling in the people who were part of, yes, what you're reporting on, basically.
Absolutely, but we also have the assessment from our kind of the club management, where we will speak to each startup to try to figure out, day one we have kind of the roadmap and timeline, what they want to get and where they're going to. But also, let's say on monthly basis, we taking a seat together, having a chat and see what the progress, and maybe they do like even better, and the progress is like much quick and much more efficient. But we need to see. But as I said, from my perspective and point of view, I just need to make sure every single session we do, it has sort of the impact. And if it's good, has a good impact, that maybe we can tweak some activities and make it more in depth and more active, or to cut off something which is not relevant.
So you'll basically, you're a startup as well when you're doing this, because you're always iterating, focusing on what gives the best results. Okay, let's focus more on that. What's redundant? Okay, let's cut the fat. These kind of things.
Again, I don't want to make a kind of, I don't want to rely just on the startups telling the feedback and say, guys, what do you want? Because pretty much startups, what they expect is a kind of clear program and clear understanding what they get out of it, right? Like how the progress will be and what the classes are about and the sessions. But at the same time, we kind of use an agile methodology when we come in, we engage with the startups, we get in the feedback, we shape in our vision as well, and I want to be flexible enough to react not for next cohort of the startups in 6 months or 12 months. I want to react quick and also to get the feedback in real time, and just to make sure again we do the right thing. Otherwise, for me, there is no point. And that was one of my kind of frustration, or maybe the question, when I've been in one program for startups. Nobody actually was trying to ask me like, how does it help you to perform like all these sessions? Do you get the benefit out of it, or do you see the value? So that's, again, we're trying to cover this gap and to make sure.
Because I guess also, and moving slightly back to the sort of the engagement in the community as well, in the ecosystem, I'm guessing that a lot of it you can also extrapolate by observation, right?
Absolutely.
So, you and the others running it, looking at, it's pretty clear from the meetings that, these 4 guys or girls, they're, giving a lot back to all these other ones, so obviously they're part of the majority of the contributors. That's something you'll be able to see easily, I guess, as well.
Absolutely, but maybe I just need to clarify a bit how the club structure works, because it's kind of important. So first of all, we have the community level where everyone is welcome to any of our sessions, like a breakfast with entrepreneurs, the workshops, or any kind of networking events, where again we just try to unite like-minded people and give them the access to all these kind of the network and the connections we have.
So this is sort of the outer circle.
Absolutely.
The community level.
Kind of the stream for the new people and new freshers and new startups to join and to see what actually is going on in our club. The second level, if the startup, they realize this is something they want to be part of, they can apply for a membership level and become a member. And if you become a member of the club, that's the moment when you have to contribute your knowledge and experience to others. Because every session we will have, it's going to be prepared by each startup. So they select the topic, for example, finance and accounting, or building an MVP, or technology-based, the session or workshop. So each startup, they have to prepare the content. They need to invite expert for the session, and also they run in the session. So they become the leaders of the group. And then after the session, each of the club members, they give in the feedback and they tell telling real-time feedback about how was it helpful, and that's the moment when we will track the engagement level,
Yeah.
how everyone was engaged enough to contribute to the community some good value content,
Yeah.
and just to make sure it's good. And then the third level, which is much more in depth, where we will work much more intensively with startups, is an accelerator.
Yeah.
We launched in April, where it's a well-structured 6 months program for startups who want to come to the next level of execution of the business. We targeting early stage startups, and we will help them to be ready for pitching session in October, to pitch in front of investors and get hopefully seed round for the business.
And obviously we have a lot of listeners and viewers out there of the podcast who are into entrepreneurship. They either have a startup, they want to work for one, want to engage more. So I'm sure you'll give us some information on that, so we can give it to the members. The listeners afterwards, how they can apply if they think they have something ready for it. So it's. And you also have a website right now, right? So it's eligent.club?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, we'll leave a link for the listeners and viewers out there later, but I'm sure there's someone out there who has an idea who can be part of the accelerator for sure. So I want to, because now we've been talking a bit about the club and what's going on, but maybe for the people who haven't met you before, or haven't heard your story, maybe we can circle back. How do you end up here now, running a community, a club, doing the accelerator, giving a lot of things back and trying to tie the community together? Where did your journey start with all this?
Well,
how far back do we need to go?
I'll try to be very precise, but my first degree is engineering, and for last more than 12 years I work in technology sector, working with established businesses and startups, helping them to develop the digital projects. I was managing the projects all across the globe, including the different industries like fashion, retail, banking, automobile industry. And what I actually realized, that it doesn't really matter if your client is an established company or a startup. Sometimes the mistakes is pretty much the same. So I came to the point that somehow you need to educate your customers and the businesses, explaining them what is actually to build a tech product or tech startup, and how it's important to understand the next steps, because a lot of people or a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, they think all you should do is basically to build an app and to build a website, get those customers, and job done.
We'll outsource this, and then we'll be done in 3 months.
Absolutely.
Then the money comes in.
But reality is not the same, right? So your journey starts from the day when you got complete app and you launched it on the market, and you realize there are no customers interested in your product, and then your reality, happens that you need to go beyond of this kind of just development process of the product. You need to know how to reach your customers, how to develop the business, how to project your finances, and how to build a team, which is very tricky. So back into my story, because all of my customers, they were located all across the globe. We developed a task management tool for managing our projects inside of my development team, to track all the projects and tasks we do. And then at that time I still realized I have lack of understanding how to reach international markets, how to sell or distribute products, digital products all across the globe. That's why I applied to Master in International Business and Management Investments through Business School. And over that time, I already got my startup, which is task management too. But during my study, I tried to realize what is the strategy, to reach the customers and to reach the markets. And it was incredibly helpful, to be honest, to get this kind of the business, the bit of knowledge. And then after graduation, I won Westminster graduate pitch competition with my startup.
Okay.
And the university, they gave me so much support to develop my business further. And they started to invite me to upcoming entrepreneurs and students to share my kind of this entrepreneurial story and background, and basically to inspire upcoming entrepreneurs to do own businesses and to start develop own projects.
Yeah.
That's how my kind of transition happened from just tech entrepreneur into the person trying to share all the knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
So since 2016, I was giving the workshops and speeches all across the universities in London and somewhere abroad. But at that time, what I realized that it's so funny that I sometimes I was seeing the same faces, visited my workshops, and some of the people, they were coming and ask, how come we can see you more often, and maybe you can share your knowledge and experience. And that's how last year we established Maribon Entrepreneur Club with my business partner Denis Jelukan, and in Maribon Club we initially started to create this community across the entrepreneurship and the businesses and startups, it was a great experience. So what now we're trying to do, and how I'm kind of the change in my transition from kind of the workshops and the talks I was giving all across the places, is basically, as you said, building the ecosystem and building consistent way of sharing my knowledge and engaging with the upcoming entrepreneurs, but also inspiring them to co-create and to engage with each other. So it's the most important thing is not just about relying on someone giving you the knowledge and passion. It's about meeting the right people where you can work together closely and do something amazing.
Yeah, and I guess that's sort of the differentiation between doing a public workshop or a public speech or an event that you've also been doing at this at the Westminster Business School, right?
Right.
Because then you're hitting a very broad audience, but maybe half of the people are just there because they want to go and hear a talk that day or something, right?
Absolutely.
So now you're being a bit more selective now with the audience that you're sharing with, and making sure that they are also in the same state of mind, I guess. So it's maybe it's a way for you as well to make sure that the things you're sharing are also being received more effectively.
Don't get me wrong.
I'm not saying that people just go to talks to go to talks.
Absolutely. But at the same time, my quickest workshop I was giving, it was in the Uber, where the driver decided to quit the job and to set up own business and tech startup basically.
Is this when you're gonna tell me that he has now Via Van?
I'm not sure about that, but I think again, what the people should understand, even we focusing on digital tech startups, that now technology comes in place for pretty much every startup.
Yep.
The question is how to use the technology to benefit for the business, and just to make sure, again, technology helps you to drive the business. But the reason why we kind of shape this kind of division and started to focus more on digital tech startups, because that's my main level of expertise and my experience, where I'm confident to give my insights and share the knowledge. So I kind of don't really understand how the people teaching you to run business if they don't have any business. It's kind of...
No, I think that's the thing, and that's why I think it's so important as well. What you want to do is when you want to measure the track record of the startups in the club as well, because you can come to all events. You can come to 52 breakfasts with entrepreneurs throughout the year. But if you're still in the same place that you were a year ago, I mean, there's only so much advice you can give, because you're gonna be like an old dog just barking the same songs, right? So,
absolutely.
So that's sort of that's where you have to differentiate, I think, and maybe find people who are willing not only to share but also put in their own work.
Absolutely.
Because that's what it comes down to, right?
Absolutely. So it's kind of should be balanced. You definitely we expect some people who are willing to share and to give some sort of knowledge and experience, but they should work hard enough to make a progress in their own businesses and startups. Because again, our club is a club for people willing to have a real progress and real outcome of being involved in these activities and the community and all these club events and stuff. So we all need to work hard, and that's exactly the same thing I'm doing as well. So we don't have any lazy people in our team, and we don't expect anyone lazy coming to our place.
No.
But if you're strong enough to work hard, and if you're strong enough to put passion into your startup idea or business, we will try our best to help you and to make sure you do significant progress over the next 6-12 months.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about, and myself being involved with the Hult Founders Lab, which is probably even earlier stage than what you want to do with Eligent,
Right.
is because we take in startups and founders all the way back at ideation stage.
Okay.
So but so this is my second year now doing it. But so what we tell them in the beginning is that we're gonna have workshops, and we're assuming that you're gonna attend all the workshops and all the speech and all the events, but we're not gonna be the police. We're not the police. So
Yes.
we're not going to be looking over your shoulder, making sure you work this much and this much and this much.
Right.
However, if you are not here and expecting to work a lot, also outside the studies, no matter what, if this is not your top priority to take this idea and making it into a product,
Right.
why are you here? You shouldn't be here if you're not prepared to put in everything you need. Why are you here?
That's the thing, but at the same time, I think what sort of the feedback I'm getting from our club members and the community members when they come into the kind of the circle of very hardworking entrepreneurs, the people who are able to inspire you and motivate you. Everyone telling me I have so much like productivity boost afterwards. I'm so motivated to do the job because you kind of see the people around you who really do progress. And that's how I think the power of the community and the power of circle of successful entrepreneurs can help you to get this motivation vibe and energy and passion to move on.
I mean, that's why there are, sales manager and team leaders in, sales organization, in any organization, why you have leaders, or why is there a CEO if it's not to inspire everybody else, to pick up the gloves, pull the sleeves up on their arms and be like, okay, now we're going to war.
Absolutely, and it's kind of I think for our club members it's kind of responsibility to put on the table, because everything is kind of transparent in a way that like where everyone goes to in terms of the the plans and objectives. So it's kind of silly, to make a big statements. Let's say we are gonna fundraise upcoming year, and in 5 years later, still the same state, no progress and stuff. So I expect when you put some kind of resolution in front of the people, expecting from you as well that you do some significant progress, that it will help you to get
some pressure, right?
Absolutely.
And I have to agree unequivocally, and not to talk too much about our stuff right now, but the whole Founders Lab, we're trying to do something similar this year, where it's sort of we pick random startups every week, and it's like, okay, what's the 2 best achievements from the past week?
Nice.
What did you do? And it's kind of embarrassing if you're 3 weeks in a row you're saying the same 2 things. Like, so we got the new partnership with these guys, and then the next week, so it's the partnership with these guys, that kind of thing. And where it sort of came from is, so our startup last year, last year, before Christmas, we were part of an investment readiness accelerator, and they would do the same thing. So every Monday meetup, they would go around the room, ask everyone, name 3 things you did last week that gave you progress. Not say arbitrary things, but it was very much so, because me being there every week, it's like there's some pressure on me now, because what the hell, I need to say 3 things. What if we don't have 3 things? That's gonna feel so bad. So it sort of pushed you like to get things going, and I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely, and as I said, I believe like again we are not kind of the mommies and daddies, to help to take the hands of the startups and say you should do that, that, and that. But we think that again this community will help to motivate each of the startups to be ready for these sort of the questions. What did you do last week, or what the progress and what the status of your business?
I mean, imagine so you have a club member and they say, okay, yeah, that's what you're saying. We're gonna get seed funding in 3 months.
Right.
So then you ask them every week. So how many investors did you talk to last week? They're like, one. One? So you're gonna get funding in 17 years when you've talked to 1,000 investors, right?
Absolutely. But again, to be honest with you, it's it's not only about the real actions. It's about the right attitude and the kind of the energy and passion the people put into some kind of the goals and the tasks. Because some people they do some things on sort of the aftermath in kind of the routine mode. And when they come into investors or anyone, they meet, they don't put enough energy or, the inspiration into the message they're trying to translate or to express. And so for me, maybe you can go just for one investment meeting, but it can be so successful by the fact how much energy and the inspiration you put there, and how you confidence in terms of what's your kind of the status and where you're going to. So I think what we're also trying to explain, it's not about do so much stuff. It's about how you do this, and just to make sure again the people see this kind of the vibe and motivation, because all of our club members, they are leaders, so everyone is expecting from them to be this kind of the most powerful person in the team,
the inspiring person, the one that they look to them for motivation, all these kind of things. That's so true, and I think we're touching on an interesting thing, and I mean, let's not go too deep because we can talk about it for days, but I think there's also a fine balance where founders and entrepreneurs, they have to figure out, okay, so how much business focus how much of a businessman or businesswoman am I going to be in this meeting, and how much of a energetic founder am I going to be? Because sometimes and especially with myself, I know for a fact that sometimes you might be a bit too business-like. So you'll show up in the suit and the tie, and then you'll be numbers. This is how it's looking. This is the logic, everything, and they'll be like, I get it. I mean, I'm sold on the idea, but you're not burning.
Right.
It's like being in the headquarters meeting right now. So I think it's an important thing to find, and I'm not sure if everybody's able to.
To be honest with you, again, maybe you can say I'm wrong, but I think it's extremely important to understand the reason why the people, why someone decided to run this particular startup idea of business. What the reason behind? Is it something personal, or it's just like a random idea? Someone found the niche on the market and you got the opportunity. But I think somehow you can feel it if the person have some kind of the personal attachment to the business or startup idea. It's not just because of the figures or good profit or the money. If it's something much more than that, or maybe it had some sort of the social impact, like the business has kind of the mission and vision. That's how I think the people can differ your being just a businessman from the entrepreneur inspiring others and bringing some value to the society as well.
I think that's so true, and you must have, obviously you're talking from experience here, and certainly I've seen, and I know you have as well, hundreds of pitches of businesses and startups with great ideas, some not so great, doesn't really matter, but I think it's very clear to see when someone is telling a personal story when they're pitching their startup, when they start with the problem, when they explain the problem, it's something they felt, they've observed, it's something that burns within their soul, contrary to someone who's just identified the unique opportunity to maybe make some money, where they'll be like, yes, so we found this problem, it's pretty huge, it's in this market, this is our solution, we just everything like logical, it makes sense, 1 + 1 is 2, everything, and then back to the other one where it's sort of a burning passion, where it's like they have a cancer burning inside them, like this is eating me up, and we need to solve it. And you can feel a difference, you can hear a difference in the words they're using, I think.
This is extremely important, and the reason why I'm always trying to ask some kind of the startups come into the loop or circuit, like if you fail, what next, or what is plan B? And some startups, when the reason behind is not about the money, they say, no matter what, I'm not going to give up. I will create the new version of the product or a new version of the startup, but I still will try to keep going no matter what. And that's what the difference, because if the people, they're just really thinking about the money, they say, oh, okay, if it didn't happen, I will just set up new business idea and stuff.
I'll find a new problem.
And you find a new problem, but there are some startups or some people, they really willing to dedicate maybe all their life to resolve the problem for society, or maybe for the lots of people. Nothing wrong. It should be, or it can be profitable, but at the same time, again, that's the difference where some businesses, they really have so much power and so much reasons to make happen. While if they started, they just worrying about the money. It's the reason why it's important, because the problems in the business, they happen always. All the time, you have some issues with cash flow, with team members, with clients, with pretty much everything. But what gives you the motivation, when you have some kind of the strong reason behind you, you realize, okay, this is nothing, I still gonna do it, I'm moving on.
That's true. And I think actually, I guess that's sort of where you are right now with Eligent Club, right? Because now you've identified, okay, I'm not going to put you in the wrong box now, but where you saw this sort of discrepancy where, okay, we have lots of communities and there's lots of places with resources. So how can I create something where we're giving back even more, and where we're having people engage actively to share what they know and shaping things sort of to what they want, but we also offer a place where you can come and we can take you from A to Z.
Well, absolutely. I think it doesn't matter if Eligent Club exists or not. What is important, that my kind of the vision to establish the club came from idea to share my knowledge and experience, just to inspire people and to help them to prevent the mistakes I did in past over my entrepreneurial journey.
And I guess that's where sort of it started with the Marylebone Entrepreneurial Club.
Absolutely.
Then we're doing breakfast with entrepreneurs, and now Eligent Club.
Yes. So the Eligent Club is just more sustainable way of doing that. But if you ask me what is plan B, I'm still gonna keep sharing my knowledge and experience no matter what, because again, I'm so kind of driven by this idea of sharing and giving back, and the reason I'm doing that, because every single day I have so much people helping me and supporting me for my things and for my success. So sometimes I'm not able to give back to the same people, because they are much more successful than me, not yet. But I can share some knowledge and experience for upcoming entrepreneurs and some new talents and new people interested in this direction.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's one of the most, at least for me. I mean, obviously I haven't been, in this frame as long as you have, in years, but still been so involved with so many different people, so many different things, and you learn so much. And one of the things you want to start doing, and I mean, that's why I have this podcast,
Nice.
to give people people like you a platform to share and tell your stories, but also for people listening or watching, so that they can learn something as well.
Absolutely.
Because obviously there is some sort of learning in any kind of story, and especially in a story like yours. And one of the most important thing for me, as you were saying before, is to give people some sort of resource where they can, instead of failing 1,000 times, they can just lean on the shoulders of someone who's already done that, already failed 1,000 times. So now they can just do it the right way the first time, and they'll still be able to learn something and see, why do I need to do it this way compared to any other thing? What do you think is the to ask you a question now. So, what do you think is you were mentioning with tech startups,
Right.
and obviously that's where you started and everything. What do you think is the biggest problem that tech startups have today, generally?
Again, it's nothing about technology, to be honest. It's more about team building. It's about understanding the real problem they're trying to solve. I have I have seen so many startups, they don't really understand the problem itself, like what the kind of the existing solutions, and most of them they think, oh, we just like create a completely new solution, but in reality they just kind of replicate something which is already exists. And the reason why, because they didn't do enough research on the previous the businesses and startups, even in offline or completely a part of the digital world. And I think also lack of dedication, because recently, maybe nowadays it's not the same, but I think in last years a lot of people, they think, oh, it's so kind of the trendy to run a startup, it's cool, like it's kind of the fancy sort of the hipster lifestyle,
it's
where
very
you
hip.
can sit with laptop, earn a lot of money, being involved in these kind of social media activities and stuff. In reality, the life is not like that, and the people should dedicate much more time to real work, to spend more time for research, for team building, for building the product, for learning, for educating themselves, for motivating themselves and the people they working together, rather than playing the game of being an entrepreneur. And I think that's a difference, and I think the people should understand nowadays this is a hard business, and I think the lack of this kind of the consistency and lack of dedication in the long term bring a lot of startups to the fail. And I think, again, coming back to the Eligent Club, that's what we're trying to solve. We're trying to help the startups to be successful in long run. I'm telling them, don't think about upcoming months, the upcoming 6 months, 12 months. This is nothing. Think about 3, 5, 10, 12, 15 years. Where you're going to be, what's your mission and vision, and how your startup idea aligned with this direction in long term. And if it's aligned, you don't have problems with motivation, because you understand the super goal, the main the direction you trying to go. So and the technology is probably just the last bit of the kind of the issues, and the last bit of puzzle. And I think coming back to the technology, I think the biggest kind of advice I can give: don't rely just on one guru or sort of expert giving you this technology is best one. Come to a bunch of people, talk with everyone, make own research and make own solution or make own decision. So because a lot of failures connected with the point that the people coming just to one developer or one CTO, relying on one person, and after in 6-12 months they realize it was wrong solution or wrong direction or wrong technology. And maybe it wasn't wrong for short term, but when the startups become successful, they need to scale up and they expand in the business, and they get 1,000 leads per day instead of 10, and then sometimes they realize the technology is not capable to maintain this amount of load and the demand.
I mean, obviously it makes sense as well, because if you're just going to your developer, ask, okay, so what should we make it in, and they give you their opinion, but then you're basing your entire future of your company on an opinion from one guy. Imagine if a founder came to you and said, yeah, there's a huge market for this, over 10 billion pounds a year. It's like, okay, where's the data? And then they'll say, no, my friend told me. My friend told me there's a market. And be like, okay, but where's the empirical data? And then you sort of end up with this the thing where, okay, maybe you should also treat, when you have a tech startup, treating the technology you choose just as you treat the market research. Go out, look for different opinions, see what it turns up to be empirically, not opinion based.
Absolutely.
I think we should have done more of that as well when we started out. Because I think we relied on an opinion. Not with the market research, by the way, but otherwise. Okay, so this is sort of a taste, I guess, on what people can expect to be learning or finding or discovering when they're part of the community. Right?
Absolutely. And again, what we also trying to solve is if you have the very, very specific and niche question in the marketing, in technology, in legal, sort of directions, we're trying to connect you with the right expert and mentor in order to help you to solve these particular questions. Because again, you cannot know everything, but what you can is get access to the right people to ask for advice. And apart of that, you feel free to come to more people and ask more advices and opinion.
Yeah.
Again, just to make common conclusion and make more wider picture of the problem you're trying to solve in any sort of type of the questions.
Exactly. And so regarding the accelerator then, are you able to share some form of how the structure is going to be? Because you said for the club, obviously then sort of you put the responsibility onto different startups for different types of sessions where they sort of, or not startups, but founders or entrepreneurs, and they'll say, okay, I want to have an event on this. Then you tell them, okay, that's fine. You have 2 weeks, find an expert, set up the logistics, do everything, and then we give you feedback afterwards. So how because it's a 6-month program, the accelerator. So how does it sort of look, all in all?
So the 6 months program is basically formed on our existing learning materials. We've been developed for last couple of years, but now it's much more structured. So the program has a very kind of the clear program in terms of what topics we're covering, and it's pretty much everything from technology questions, how to build your first MVP, up to team building, to marketing questions, to pitching training, how to win a pitch competition, and how to make successful fundraising round, but also some kind of operational questions and internal questions, how to make your equity agreements across your team members, and how to create exit plan, and how to protect your intellectual property. So pretty much we covered all the topics in a structured way, from the kind of the starting point about getting the right idea for your startup, and the final point about pitching session. So we will have the series of the workshops for accelerator fellows and mentorship sessions and sessions with experts in connection to specific session you're running. For each class we will have, and what is most important that we will have a digital hub where all the accelerator fellows, they first of all can submit the feedback and report, and also the progress of the oven, the kind of the traction, but also they will have access to the experts and mentors online. So which means you don't have to wait the time till your next class is coming, and which was my also big frustration in one accelerator program, that sometimes you have the class and you have relevant expert, but you need this expert in 2 months' time, not right now, because it's kind of not the right moment for your state of the startup. So what we will have is basically all live access to over the program. We will have access to all the mentors. So every startup, they can request the mentorship or advice from mentors and experts anytime over the program, which becoming much more valuable and helpful for you, because you will ask when you need this help.
So you're not predetermining the time slots with the different ones. You're rather saying, okay, here's all the mentors, contact them when you need them.
Absolutely, but at the same time we will have the proper sessions with mentors and experts, just to kind of again to share the knowledge and experience, because before you ask, you need to get some kind of the in-depth understanding of the topic or the material. But at the same time, as I said, we will have this kind of digital hub where you can engage with all the stakeholders and the community members online during all the program. And what is most important, that after graduation of the accelerator program, you become part of alumni network, which means it's your lifetime network to connect with all the fellows of upcoming accelerators. And we do expect that the alumnus, they will come back to the existing fellows to share successful stories and knowledge and experience. So again, we hope that it's going to be kind of continuous, flow of the upcoming and previous entrepreneurs coming in place together.
Sort of like an organic give and take, where people sort of flow into the right places and share where it's relevant, but also take out what they need, but then you bring it back in again. So it's a circular flow almost.
Absolutely. And just to confirm that, or just to explain a bit more, that we will have two groups in our accelerator. One group is London-based startups, where we will have the physical activities, and you need to be in person. And we will have online group for startups located all across the globe, where all the activities will be online, including the webinar sessions and online sessions with experts and mentors. So everyone is welcome, basically, and we will try to kind of to give access to the London group, to international group, also to engage to each other and see how they kind of different and how they kind of help each other based on some knowledge from different markets as well. Because what I realized, and what sort of the kind of interesting cases, that some startups which are London based, they found much more attractive markets abroad in some other countries. So that's why we kind of interested to unite these teams together, to give them the kind of insights about the different markets and opportunities.
Exactly. Identifying a possible opportunity that they did not find on their own. Basically.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And at the same time, if we get some startup from Oslo or New York, what we want to have when you come into the city, you already know someone, meeting you and having a chat.
Basically, you already have a group of people who sort of know you, and it's easier for you to sort of get into everything.
Absolutely.
I guess. Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely.
I think we're about to run out of time with everything here. However, I wanted to just finish off with so I wanted just to finish off the few last minutes with how can people get involved with what you're doing? Obviously, we talked about this a little bit before, but where can people find you? Is there anything they need to do in order to get involved? And also, how does it look like if you want to apply? Because I know for a fact that we're probably a few of the people we have in our cohort in the incubator right now. It ends, in very, very early in April. Right. Some of them might be ready to take the next step. So how can we get involved? Community level, member level, and accelerator. How does it look like?
Well, my kind of the biggest advice, first of all, come to the eligent.club website, and you can see all the description of the programs and the events we're running. The best way to be involved is come to see us in person and basically join our breakfast with tech entrepreneurs every Saturday we do in Marylebone. And that's a place where the people can see if they like the vibes and if they like the community, and they can be part of the community level and just join our free sessions and to engage with other entrepreneurs in the community. If they feel they need to get more insights, that they want to be part of the club, they can apply to the membership. It's available online on the website, and then some of our team members come back and kind of talk directly to the startup, explaining all the process. And if you want to apply to Accelerator, the same, we have a special section called Accelerator, where you can fill the form and apply online, and then again someone coming back to you and you discuss all the details. Okay. But again, more than welcome to join our breakfast, because this is kind of fun and connecting point of so many people coming to our sessions.
I mean, that's where I got to know you, and to everybody listening, it is a pleasure every time. They have good coffee there as well. If you're only there for coffee, or if you're there for croissants, I don't know. But the people you meet there are very inspiring, and
I think
you yourself as well.
We have one more unique selling point, that we are not based in Shoreditch or anywhere across East London.
No, we're in the nice part of town.
We are based in Marylebone, and I think it's kind of different, because there are so many stuff happening in terms of tech in East London.
Yeah.
So we created some kind of the new community in Marylebone for tech entrepreneurs as well.
So it will be the only tech entrepreneur community where people don't wear sweatpants and t-shirts, but rather wear
Yes.
a suit or a tie.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. And where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
They can Google my name, Slava Baranovsky, and I have a personal website, slavabaranovsky.com. They also can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much very active, and anyone is welcome to ask for any advice or any question regarding tech entrepreneurship or tech business. And I'm pretty much on all the social media channels, so you just need to type my name and you'll find it.
Perfect. We'll be sure to put some links in the description as well, on both the YouTube video, I guess, and also on all the podcast platforms. Perfect. I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Slava, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Lars.
Perfect. This has been episode 13. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again in not too long.
See you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.